Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another Lanyap episode. This time, talking to the Disney fans of you out there. What are the hot Disney IP-based board games that came out in 2020? Let's find out. And I've enlisted some help in getting this list together. Dean from Meeple Town to help me out with this one.
Hey, BJ, thanks for having me. I'm pumped because I love Disney board games. And honestly, I don't have anybody that I can talk to about them. So I'm just excited that you would let me come talk about Disney board games.
Exactly. We're both Disney fans. We talk about it off the show all the time. I don't know your background, though. How far do you go back with Disney? When did you fall in love with it?
So not until high school. That was my first trip to Disney World. And me and my dad, we started planning these trips together for the whole family. And then we keep up with all the news and everything for Disney and everything that's going on with the Disney parks and all that. So it's just kind of become like this other hobby that me and my dad got into. And now I'm introducing my kids to it. And we don't go as often as you, BJ. You're down there quite a bit.
Just every once in a while, when I can sneak away and get down there. But I do enjoy it. I went the first year it opened, not the actual year, but not the calendar year, but 1972. I was there when it opened that summer, and I've been back, fairly frequently ever since then. So I do love it.
Okay.
But it's sort of like a hobby, like board gaming. I mean, it's a rabbit hole. If you start getting into the Disney parks, there you can really fall into the internet hole, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much, there's so much good stuff from, even if you just say, hey, I'm going to focus on the hidden Mickeys at Disney World parks, you can spend a lot of time researching and, searching for those different hidden Mickeys that you see throughout the park. And there's a lot of different hobbies within the hobby, I guess, kind of like board gaming.
So one of the first games I actually remember purchasing at a little TG&Y type store was Casper the Friendly Ghost. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and that game was basically spin and move the ghost around and try to get back to the start. It was terrible, and it turned me off from there on. IP games just are terrible. Dean, as a fellow Disney fan, how excited did you get when all of a sudden you've got this awesome hobby of board gaming, and then cool Disney IP themed games started coming out?
Yeah, I real excited. We'll talk about several of those tonight, but I think I still have a little reluctance though, honestly, because there's still some of those misses, and I'll talk about some of that tonight too. But with Villainous using some mechanisms that you see in games like Scythe, and that's a big deal. That these games are getting introduced to the mass market, but at the same time, they're using the same mechanisms that we use in hobby board gaming. It's really cool.
We're going to be talking about 6 games that have Disney IP, and they're all out here in 2020. Let's find out which ones you do and you don't like. And we're going to start it off, Dean, tonight with a game I've played, and I know you've played, but I'm not so sure you've played the 2020 version of this. And that's
I have not.
Disney's Villainous, Perfectly Wretched. What's your experience with Disney's Villainous?
Some goods and some bads. So Villainous is a game that I like, but I've also introduced it to my family, which they're huge board gaming people. The first time I introduced it to them, we played a 6-player game with people that are not great at listening to rules. I love my family, but they just we get talking.
6.
And it was a mess. It was about 2.5 hours of a lot of questions, but at the same time, one of my sisters actually bought the game and they play it with their family. They really like it a lot. But I like the game. I think it's cool. I've not played the newest expansion though. I've played I've got all the stuff here, but this one. So tell me about it.
Okay, but before we get started, both of us agree, thumbs up for Villainous, right? We both.
Yeah, one of my favorites of Disney board games, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love Villainous. I'm going to tell you, I don't like it with more than 3 people. I think it's a perfect 3-player game. You start getting 5 players, I can't even imagine playing at 6 like you did. But here's what's cool. The people at Funko who are doing they're the ones basically, Prospero Hall, who've been bought out by Funko. The Prospero Hall people are the ones that have been doing these Disney additions to the base game. And every one of them is thematic. And the first one, the one that came out this year is called Perfectly Wretched. I've got a shot of it there on the screen. And it's got, of course, the silhouette of one of the all-time best Disney villains, and that is Cruella de Vil. There's 3 people that come in this set, Dean, and that's kind of the way that they do those with the expansions, at least. The base game had 6, if I remember right. 6 or 8?
That's right. Yeah. Because you can play up to 6 players for that one. You can use all the factions.
I couldn't remember. And then after that, they've been coming out with these little 3 sets. So Cruella, of course, is the first one. I don't know. I got the Target version of this. It comes with a different front than I showed you because that was a picture of the box, but the actual slip is something really cool. It's got the Dalmatian dots on it. So I'm not sure if this piece is the one that comes with everyone. So I apologize out there, chat crew and Meeple Town people. I'm not sure if this is the one you get. You may get something slightly different. But if you get the Target version, each of those pieces, as you know, have those, what do they call them? The movers?
The little pawns, the tokens,
Movers? I can't remember what they're called. But this one, it looks like the little coat with Cruella de Vil. And I really like Cruella de Vil's character in this one because what you're doing is you're trying to get the 99 puppies. And as a brief overview, Villainous turns the hero tales on its head, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You're actually playing the villain and you're playing against other villains and you're trying to finally be, the winner in a Disney movie, which never happens, right? But in this game, you're trying to collect 99 puppies before the other players complete their objective. And the puppies come out with these little 11s and 22s, and you're trying to get them over to the right place so that you can bring them over to this other place. Kind of a familiar mechanic, Dean, if you've played some of the other characters. It's just done differently with these different tokens. You're going to recognize all the familiar characters, from the movie itself. So Cruella de Vil, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. My problem with this is I'm not caught up. So I own all the other stuff, but I just haven't played all the other expansions yet. But I love how every one of these feels so thematic to the villain that you're playing. I just think that's really cool. The Queen of Hearts, I think you mentioned that one earlier. That's one of my favorite ones because I just love the feel of how that one plays out. Yeah,
that one's got the little random chance with it, right?
Yes.
Vil has a little bit element of luck and chance with that, with flipping over the tiles. Or you can get the 1s or the 2s. They're 11s and 22s, but it's really 1s and 2s. You're trying to get 9 points of tiles or 99 points between them. But the other thing about them is it almost has a feeling like herding puppies because the puppies keep going on and off your board, on and off your board. Dean's, I'm moving them over, so getting close to where, and there's Dean sending them back. So it feels like the movie when you think about the animated feature. The puppies are all over the place, and she can never seem, Jasper and Horace. I think Jasper and Horace can never seem to corral. They're running up the stairs and doing things. That you get that same thematic feel with Cruella de Vil. So
that's cool. So would you recommend this, BJ? Is this one any more difficult than any of the other ones, or is it just throw it in there if you know Villainous? It's not going to be too difficult.
I think Cruella's fine. I don't remember the order, but what's cool about the expansions, they order them. They usually come with a complicated one, a medium one, and kind of a beginning one.
Mm-hmm.
As we go through the 3, I'll try to remember which one is the easier one. I'm just drawing a blank now. I should have looked that up. Thanks a lot, Dean. Here. So let's go to the next one. The next one is from a movie that I totally passed over. In fact, I never fully watched it until actually a couple of months ago. I always caught snippets of it as my little bugs would listen to it, or watch it. I would catch the start or the middle, but I never actually sat through the whole one. And that's Mother Gothel from Tangled. Have you seen Tangled, the movie?
It's one of the best Disney movies out there. It's really good.
I'm so impressed. But now, listening to snippets of it, it didn't excite me. Watching it from start to finish, I was super impressed. It's actually a great Disney movie. Yep. And the scene where they're in the boat and the lights are coming on for the first time and she finally recognizes what those things are and the music's playing in the background. Oh, man, that is a classic.
It is.
Disney season.
Yeah. I know several people, this is their favorite Disney movie. So I'm excited about this villain then.
Okay, hold on. Let's not go overboard, all right? It's a great movie, but it's not the best Disney movie.
Said there are people that I know. This is not my favorite Disney movie, but
Mother Gothel is a lot of fun. You are trying to get, as it starts here, you're trying to get the trust, of course, of Rapunzel, right? Yeah, Rapunzel.
Yep.
So you're trying to get those 10. sort of kind of like a mixture of maybe Prince John trying to get 20 coins and a couple of other characters. But it's not like Prince John at all. You know, no one can just watch you get to 17 or 18 and then just start tagging Prince John like everybody does.
He's probably my least favorite in the series, by the way.
Yeah, it's so straightforward. I mean, it's really hard to win from Prince John because everybody, especially in a multiplayer game, everybody just gangs up on you. Mother Gothel, a little bit more sneaky than that. It's 10 trust, and to get the trust, you have to kind of walk it down. So it's a lot of fun, very thematic. It's got some of the great art in the feature, so you're going to recognize all of the characters. And by the way, one of my favorite little areas, those little, not hidden, but one of my favorite little not so well-known areas, that new area between Liberty Square and Fantasyland. Have you seen the Tangled bathroom area? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I have not.
They redid the entrance underneath where the old Skyway was, and it had just been abandoned for years. They've completely redone all that over the last couple of years, and now it's a recreation of the town scene from Tangled, where the piano player with the one with the hook.
Yes, yeah,
it's that scene, and it's
that's cool.
You're perfect. Take your kids there. You're going to be amazed at how photogenic that little tiny area is there. It's just a bathroom. Okay. I don't want you to get so excited, but it's, you know, if you're a Disney fan, you're going to go, wow, they really did a nice job with this bathroom. That's really nice. It's a fun little courtyard. So take a look at that.
That's great.
Mother Gothel. I like it. Mother Gothel, a little bit more complicated, less luck than Cruella de Vil. And last but not least, maybe my least favorite of the three.
Oh, no. I'm really excited about this one.
Still interesting, and that's Pete. So Pete, here's why Pete's unusual, Dean. It's not one of the animated features. The first time that Funko has done, Prospero Hall has done this. It comes from the cartoons instead.
Right.
Does that signal that we might be starting to see things like, you know, the Rescue Rangers or Pixar movies or something else coming? Maybe.
I kind of hope so, because I think there's some really, especially moving into that Pixar area. I guess that's a whole nother topic, but I've got a list in my mind of ones that I really want to see, and some of those are like the Turbo from Wreck-It Ralph is one I want to see, and the Syndrome from Incredible. Ooh. Another good one. So it'd be nice to see him moving outside of some of those main feature ones.
I like that Syndrome from the Incredibles, the first Incredibles. Oh, that would be pretty good. Yeah. So we might be seeing that. So as you can see, Pete's got the color scheme and everything, and that's his marker. The color scheme and everything that's got calls to mind the classic Disney cartoons of the 30s and 40s. The funny thing about Pete, and I think this is why I liked him the least out of the three, is he's got 4 goals, but they're all hidden. Other people don't know what your goals are. And if I remember right, you're trying to figure, it's been a while since I played Pete, right? Since right at the start of the pandemic. So I don't remember exactly, but I remember being a little irritated with those goals that you had kind of these little secret goals, and you had to pick one that you were actually going to do. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, it wasn't my favorite out of the 3. The artwork is, it's not as interesting to me as some of the animated features. And I've never really been a fan of Pete. So,
okay. That makes sense. I honestly, the artwork is why I'm so drawn to him, because it seems so different. Just that black and white theme that he has. I love that they went that route. I think that's really cool.
And it's the only time you can see Steamboat Willie right there, attacking you, as you can see from the screen. So it's, I gotta admit, it's, there's some things to it. Out of all of the 3 from this set, I've only played Pete once. So you know what? I'm not gonna have too much of an opinion on that. I need to try it more than that. As you well know, Villainous is a game that rewards multiple plays with the same character as you learn the strategy of how the character can best be used. Yeah,
so. And with people who know the game very well, because they know how all the other villains play out. I totally agree with that. Cruella de Vil, though, is one that I've heard a lot of people clamoring for a while. Right, she's been kind of at the top of the list of villains that people want to see. That's why I'm really intrigued to see what's coming next, because I feel like some of the really big ones that people people that were really wanting these big name villains. I'd love to know what's going to be next. I'm excited for this, but I'm gonna have to check this one out.
Yeah, they've got big names. Who do I want?
Yeah.
That's tough. They've done a lot of the people that I would want to do. Yzma from Emperor's New Groove.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they've done a bunch
yeah.
of people. I'd have to think about it. Do you have somebody like top of the list?
Turbo. I don't know why, but I think he's a cool. I think he's a pretty cool villain. And then to see some of the Pixar stuff sneaking in, I think would be really that'd be really interesting. I think.
My favorite Pixar movie is Ratatouille, and I just don't know that the chef would be a good enough, central bad person, central
Yeah.
villain. The problem with the Pixar movies is a lot of them don't really have that major villain,
Especially the newer ones. You're absolutely right. Lotso would be a cool one, though. I think from Toy Story the 2.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right? The second Toy Story, is that
3? Toy Story 3?
maybe?
Toy Story 2 was the collector in Japan. He was trying to sell them to Japan. Right?
That's right. So that would be the Prospector Pete in that one, I guess. So yeah, it's the third one. Lotso the bear, I think would be really cool too.
Lotso the bear. Yeah, that's
maybe the best villain in Toy Story, perhaps.
Pretty good villain, but a lot of the villains are just not out and out, just black and white, old time Pete type villains. Think of Soul. I got to watch Soul this weekend, and there's no central villain in that. Who would you say the villain is in Soul? There's really no central villain, right?
Yeah, maybe himself. And, it's you can get really deep on that. Maybe you could have like from Inside Out the rage character who's not that's not really a villain though, but thinking outside the box.
I think it's funny with if you think through all the big time Pixar movies, there's never really that big central villain. Now, the villain from Jungle Book, I think, would be one that that I would want to see. Shere Khan would be somebody I'd want to see.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's still a lot of classics that we don't have villains for, and there's a ton. There's a ton of classics that we don't have villains for in this game yet.
I would think Gaston would probably be top of the list for most people, right?
Oh, that's right. Actually, so I made a list, BJ. I'm not going to go through all that. I would mention some of them, but Gaston is probably at the top of my list. That's the first one I put down on my list. So
yeah, Meeple Town listeners, if you were listening right now, you would see Johnny prepared over there with Dean with his list.
Frollo from Hunchback was another one I put on there, who's not, I don't think is in any of the sets, right? Have you seen Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Yes, and it's not in the set, no.
Okay, all right.
Scar is
this year, and I love.
You had mentioned Scar, but Scar is in the Be Prepared set.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Cruella and Scar are the ones that people really, really wanted, and then they came. So I was wondering, Gaston's another name that I heard a lot of people talk about.
I think, judging on his popularity at the parks and popularity with the movie, I think that Gaston would be up there. I would think that.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So again, we're doing Disney 2020 hobby games that have come out. There's some games we're not talking about. Disney Jenga, Disney Monopoly, things like that, right? We're talking about 6 games that if you're a Disney fan, you could play. First one was Perfectly Wretched from Disney Villainous. The next one is one I have not played. So I'm going to let you take this over. Tell me about Jungle Cruise.
Well, let me tell you about my love for Jungle Cruise before I do that, BJ. Jungle Cruise is one of my favorite attractions at Disney World. I just absolutely love it. The jokes crack me up. My sisters, they'll randomly send me clips of Jungle Cruise, videos from the Jungle Cruise of jokes that people are saying on there. And they're the same jokes. I don't care. I just love them so much. So I heard Jungle Cruise was coming out, and I was really hyped. Sat down with my family, who we've ridden Jungle Cruise a ton. And in this game, you're on these little boats, and you are carrying passengers along this map. It's a roll and move game. So you roll die to determine how far you're going to move. Then you're going to flip these cards over to determine what's going to happen. The cards will have different. What's the word? I guess they're.
Were they passengers or?
They can bring about passengers. So they're like, I guess, kind of event type of cards. Things will happen and tell you. Danger cards, I think, is what they're called. So certain cards are more dangerous than other cards, and you have to defeat these cards depending on how many you had rolled. So what your die roll was, okay? And you have to take 4 cards, and you pick You pick the cards that you're going to do, I guess, the ones that you're going to roll against, and then basically roll and determine what's going to happen. Now, there's some modifiers to those rolls based on the items that you have and things like that. But for the most part, it's a roll and move, and then rolling to determine what's going to happen after that. Now, the game is fine for what it is. At the end of the game, basically, you have these passengers and items in your boat, and then you're going to get points for those. You're also, along the way, you're gonna try to figure out who the family is at the end of the game. There's 4 different families. 3 of them are revealed throughout the game, and then 1 is left at the end. And if you know who that is, then you're going to get extra points.
So little bit of a deduction, then try to figure out which family hasn't been revealed, right?
Yeah, but it's do I stop? Do I go a little bit longer route to find out who these other families are so I can determine that at the end? Or do I just not care as much about that so I can get points in other ways and get to the end faster than other people?
This sounds like one of your top 2 or 3 games of all time.
This is not. This was a bit of a miss, and it really bummed me out. But I recognize also my expectations for this one were pretty high. The positive is every time you get one of these cards, you have something that you read on it. So like this one says, I'm told that gorillas are great apes. I've met them. They're okay. So it has all of these like Jungle Cruise jokes on it. And that's the gist of the game, honestly, like all of the cards. But the problem is you go through the entire deck in a game and then some. So by the time you get through the deck and and some of them repeat throughout the deck. So you're reading the same jokes over and over again in one game. And so that's kind of a problem for me. The game overstays its welcome. It's just not my favorite. And it makes me really sad because I wanted to love this game. And I think initially we had fun because you're reading the cards and you're looking at the map, and there's some things on the map that correspond to the actual attraction, and some of the jokes are the same, and that's cool. But that wears off very quickly. And so you're playing this game, and I think on the box, let's see, on the box it says, maybe it doesn't say how long the game is. 45 to 60 minutes. Ooh. I think it took us longer than that. It took us longer than an hour to play this the first time. And we were just all ready for it to be done. And
this sounds like a 35 to 40-minute game. It should have been.
Should have been. Yeah, I think so. So
maybe not see all the cards during the game so that you still want to play the game 2 or 3 more times and see some more skipper jokes, right?
Yeah, it almost felt like, you mentioned earlier some of the Casper game. You have some of these things that happen in the game that they're funny because you can relate to the movie or relate to the ride or whatever it is. But this one, you don't want to go through all of that, like you said in the one game that you play, because then you've played a game and you're like, okay, I'm done. I don't need to play this anymore. Yeah, that's
a miss there. I think shortening up the game and having a little sense of discovery to play it a couple more times, I think that would be better. I like the Jungle Cruise. It's a classic attraction. It's got the hand of Walt on it. So I want to see that. But if I want to laugh, I'm going to go see Mike and Sully at the Laugh Floor, because there I can go to that show back to back, and it's funny every time because there's a mixture of jokes and they get to interact with the audience. Now, if you've been on the Jungle Cruise as much as I know you have, you know that the skippers are supposed to follow a script.
That's right.
But if you get a particularly vibrant skipper, all of a sudden you're going to hear some jokes that are not necessarily on the script, which I actually like, Well,
that's right. So I've had one of my jokes used in the Mike and Sully attraction before, and it was met with crickets, not a single laugh in the entire. Yeah, I think they didn't hear the joke, or maybe they didn't get the punchline. That's
probably
a good joke.
That audio system failure. In the middle of the stream, I can't think of it. I'm gonna have to check with my wife to see if we've ever gotten a joke on the Laugh Floor. Seems like we might have. That seems familiar. So good on you for doing that, though, because I love participation. And one of these days,
I'll never do it again.
Come on. By the way, off topic, which one do you like better, Turtle Crush or Mike and Sully?
Turtle Crush. Love Turtle Crush. It's not as funny, but I just think it's better for the kids. I have young kids, and they love it, and just so cool. And typically the the person that they have doing it comes up with some really good stuff that's interactive with the audience as well. So
I'm going to agree with you.
Do that well.
It seems to be a funnier attraction overall, but that voice in Turtle Crush is, it gets me every time. So
we'll say those jokes all day long at the park just because of the voice. I love it.
I know. That's a good one. All right, let's move on to the next one. We're talking Disney 2026 games that are Disney IPs, and they've come out, and these are for hobby gamers that we're talking about. We're skipping the Munchkins and the other games. The next one is, I haven't played it, but I almost got this the other day. I want to hear, should I buy the Haunted Mansion's Call of the Spirits game? Tell me about it, Dean. Spoiler,
my favorite 2020 Disney game is Haunted Mansion. I love this one. This one is a lot of fun. You've got it up on the screen, but I've got it right here too. First off, let me go ahead. The components of this one, I'm going to mention that first. So you have cards.
So you can show.
Do you have those up there, BJ? Sorry.
No, I have you up. It's just you and the components. Take it away.
You want to see me holding these up. Okay. I'm not going to hold up the box, although I think the box is, I'm sorry, not the box. The board, I think, is really well done. But the cards is really what makes this game shine. This game is ultimately set collection. And you are collecting these cards from around the board. You're just going to be moving around the board, collecting these different types of cards. Okay. Some of them like this, the more of these that you collect, the more points that you're going to get. You've got some that give you a point, but then you're also going to get points for other types of cards that you're going to collect. And you have ones that allow you to get rid of your haunts, and some that if I get one, I'm going to get 3 points, but if I get two, I'm not going to get any. So I need to get 3 cards so that I can get 12 points. And there's lots of different types of cards. You got the classic, the kickoff to the ride in there, and I'm trying to think some of the other ones, but ultimately, there's just so many different types of art on the card. They didn't skimp on the art at all. I think it's fantastic. But the gist of the game, again, is you're moving around the board. You're collecting these cards that will give you points at the end of the game. But there's also a lot of player interaction in this. You have these, if you're in the same spot as somebody else, you can duel them for the cards. And what you're going to do is you're going to say, I'm willing to take this many haunt cards. And the other person says, I'm willing to take this many haunt cards because I really need this card that you're trying to steal from me. But if you get haunt cards, what you're going to do is you're going to take the set that you have the most cards of in at the end of the game. If you have the most haunt, that's the total value of these small, tiny cards. If you have the most haunt cards at the end of the game, you're going to lose that entire set. So even if you're gaining a lot of points, that one set that I showed that you can get, 25 points from this card, even if I get that, I might completely lose it if I have too much haunt. So you really need to manage that. And there's lots of different ways that you get haunts, and that happens from the hitchhiking ghost as well. If they travel through your spots, they're going to give you a haunt card. And this is this cool little miniature here of the hitchhiking ghost. And it's a pretty simple game, but I love it. I think this one's a lot of fun. And I think, again, it's my favorite Disney game that I've played this year. And it's not as complex as Villainous. I think this is going to appeal to a lot more people. I'll be able to play this with my family, no problem. In fact, several of my family members have already picked this one up and have had no problems playing it. I like it quite a bit. But you've not played this one, but you're a little pumped on this one, maybe.
Oh, I love the Haunted Mansion. I try to go to it at every park that I visit. I think it's one of the best attractions from that era. It's competitive, and it's competitive, right? And it takes
that's right
time.
Yeah. So this one takes about, I don't know what it says on the box, 30 minutes. That's probably about right. I would say maybe it plays up to 6 players. With more players, you actually play less rounds, so it does kind of scale a little bit, but okay. I still think 6-player games. I've not played full 6 players. I played 4 players, but I think it still takes probably 30, 40 minutes to play that.
I could actually see having a whole shelf of games just of the park rides, if we see Disney park rides. And that's what's so disappointing about Jungle Cruise. But the Haunted Mansion sounds like one that would fit right into the collection. So,
yeah, I think this is kind of the sweet spot for IP games where you're going to get people that might not be like super heavy hobby board gamers.
Okay.
But they'll see this, they'll love Disney, they'll see this at Target, and pick it up off the shelf and be able to pick it up pretty easily, and then introduce mechanisms that you see in hobby board games, which that's exactly what I want in these type of games. Nothing too heavy, something I can introduce to my family, but it still has some of those interesting mechanisms.
Yeah, another Prospero Hall game from Funko. And, one of the things that we have to remember, it's got a weight of 1.8 on the BGG scale, which is very light, right? I mean, that's a game just about anybody can pick up. And yet, go on Amazon, Dean, and look at the reviews on Amazon, and you're going to see a couple people go, my wife and I picked up this game, and we've read the rule book 4 times. We have no idea how to play. So I'm not necessarily talking about Haunted Mansion, but games like that. So good on Funko they don't always hit, but good on them for trying to bring out games that have rules that hobby gamers would enjoy, yet family gamers could still play, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, again, that's what you want to go for, and Funko gets it. Like I think they're knocking it out of the park, honestly, with doing that. And we're going to talk about another one soon that I think they did another good job on. You might not agree.
Did they? All right. Let's go to this next one, though. Before we get there, we're talking Disney 2020 top games. I got my buddy Dean from Meeple Town here. This is BJ from Game Gumbo. And the next game is one that, admittedly, Dean, neither one of us have played. Both of us got excited, though, when it was announced, but we haven't played it yet. But you've done a little bit of sleuthing and can tell me a little bit about what Shadowed Kingdom is. Disney's Shadowed Kingdom. Not a Prospero Hall game, as far as I know.
Yeah, this one, I don't have this one pulled up to show who did this one. I can't remember now. But
this is by, it's from Mondo Games. So that's the same people that licensed the games to Restoration with the Unmatched series. But the designers were Darth Rimmer, Dusty Watkins, and Travis Watkins.
Yeah, I was really hype on this, like you said. In fact, as soon as I saw this, I texted my sisters and I said, hey, got to check this one out. I started reading more into it. Now, BJ, you've actually played a game similar to this, so you might have some better things to say about this. But this is a head-to-head game,
right?
Where you are playing cards into a 2x2 grid, and the way that you put those cards into play affects how those different cards interact with each other. Is that right? What's the game you said you played that seems similar to this one?
Yeah, I was looking it up. So keep going. I'm going to see if I can find the name of the game.
Okay. So I was going to try to pull this up so I could see what the different characters, because you have, some of the normal Disney characters.
Cat Rescue. Jay Bell, our mutual friend, Jay Bell from our little Gateway group, taught me Cat Rescue, and it's got kind of that similar mechanic. You want me to explain the mechanic, or do you think you have it?
Explain how that plays out when you're playing those cards into that 2x2 grid.
Yeah, so think of a 2x2 grid, and in that 2x2 grid, when you push cards toward toward you, so if you and I were playing, if I push cards toward you, you would get a benefit. If you push cards to me, I would get a benefit. And if we push cards out of the way, that would be, special type powers would come out. Sort of like the way Cat Rescue works, in that it's sort of those puzzles where you're pushing cards, the little sliding puzzles that you see at like Cracker Barrel type places.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
So are the mechanic in Ulm? Have you ever played Ulm?
Ulm
has that mechanic where there's tiles that you push, and it's just like those little square puzzles that you see at Cracker Barrel. So that's the vibe I'm getting from Shadow Kingdom, that the 2x2 grid is, I'm pushing and pulling cards between the two of us to try to get either the cards that are really helpful to us, with not that we don't want to play the cards that are going to hurt us, the shadow cards, and then pushing out cards we don't need.
Sorry, I don't think we said that, but it's cooperative. You're working together in 2-player.
And I think there are 3 different type of cards. There's the magic cards, which I want to push out towards you, towards us, so we can get points that we need for the victory. And then there's the shadow cards, which is going to keep us from winning the game. And then other places that are going to get pushed out, which we can explore. So there'll be some kind of in-game type of bonus or a special power that comes out. That's about all I know about the game. But I like the artwork. It kind of reminds me of that video game that was sort of the Shadow Kingdom type thing. Remember?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of. And in fact, that's why I sent it to my sisters, because one of my sisters really into that. I sent they did a Talisman in that same with those same characters, if I remember right.
Which reminds me, there's always a rumor that we're going to get a 5th park, and the 5th park is going to be Disney Villains or Disney Shadows, the Shadow Kingdom. So, when I saw this, I was like, oh, maybe this is a tie-in, but it doesn't appear to be much more than just a simple 2-player cooperative card game, right?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And it is, you mentioned that Mad Love game, but it is a re-implementation of that game. So it plays out pretty simply. Uh, it's a 15-minute game. I might really like this one. I'm just not sure I'm that hype on this one. But what did you think of Mad Love? Because again, it's a re-implementation of that game.
I haven't played Mad Love, so I guess I'll need to.
Maybe I was telling you about it. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I played Cat Rescue with him. I just haven't played that other one. So.
Oh, gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna let the Disney fans out there know there is Shadowed Kingdom. It's a 2-player game from Mondo Games. You and I haven't played it yet, but we're gonna try to check it out at some point.
That's right. That's right.
But there is one game we both have played.
We might disagree.
And that's Disney's Hocus Pocus. Take it away. How you know the game better than me? I've played it probably half a dozen times. You probably played it more than that. So tell me about Disney's Hocus Pocus.
That's probably right. Yeah. So Hocus Pocus, you are working together and you are trying to stun the Sanderson sisters. You got to stun them 3 times in order to win the game.
And we all know their names. It's Winifred's sister, and Winifred's other sister, right?
That's exactly right. Good thing is they have it all listed on the game component.
They do.
See all that. And you got Binks the cat as well. So you are going to be trying to first off find out information about what other people have. So at the start of your turn, you'll ask a question like who has orange cards and or who has this type of symbol or whatever. So you can kind of.
And these are the 5 symbols, right?
That's right. That's the 5 symbols and the 5 different cards. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to lay cards out onto those card spots on the board in a way that matches up the way that you want to knock out which specific Sanderson sister. So, for example, Winifred, if you want to knock her out, you have to get all of those symbols and all of the same color, if I remember. I might have got the sister wrong, but all the sisters have different configurations of how you want to play those cards out.
One was pretty easy. One was a little bit harder. And then Winifred was everything had to match, basically.
That's right. That's right. You had to have everything match. But when you do that, what happens is sometimes these spell cards are going to come out, and spell cards are bad. Bad things happen with spell cards, specifically if Winifred is casting that spell on you. And if she's stunned, then if her card comes out where she's going to cast a bad spell on you, then that thing doesn't happen, which is really nice. So you want to try to knock her out because the other sisters aren't as powerful as what she is. And
right.
once you knock them out, stun them 3 times. You can stun the same one 3 times. You can stun all 3 of them. It doesn't matter how you do it. But once you stun them 3 times, then you win the game. There's also special abilities that you can use. You got 4 special abilities you can use throughout the game, but they're a one-time use thing. Binks the cat, when you get him, allows you to have the player with Binks. You can have all of your cards showing because no one can see what your cards are. So I might be going for something, playing a card, and it does not help anyone else. And so you're kind of figuring out information while you're playing cards. But with Binks, you can see somebody's card, so at least you know something that you can work towards. This was a hit with my family, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, you love it. And just to clarify, you can't do the same sister all 3 times. You do have to rotate with the sisters, but you don't have to do each of the 3 sisters, I think is what you were trying to say.
Correct. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I loved it. I will tell you this. I love those 4 special powers. I've got them up on the screen. And what I liked about them is that they're not completely game breaking, but they really are necessary. And that decision as to when to play those, which you have to do mutually, if I remember right, since it's a cooperative game.
Yeah. That
decision was always like, God, we really need to use this. And if you didn't and you lost the game, you're like, oh, we still had 2 powers left. We should have used one of them. You know?
Do you find this game difficult, BJ?
Holy cow. Yes. My wife, now we played it as a 2-player. You know, with COVID, the most I've played it, I think, is either 3. I think 3, maybe 4 is the most I played it. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the game nights where I could get a big group to play. And I think we found it much easier at 4-player than we did at 2-player. 2-player was tough. It really was tough. This beautiful little gumbo pot where you think you're just going to stir some roux, maybe throw some sausage or, maybe some, some type of greens or some type of vegetables, potatoes or eggs that you're putting in there, chicken, whatever you want. This little gumbo pot was very difficult because I can't tell you how many times we looked at each other going, well, I thought you had this card and that's why I played that one. And that's why we did this. And My problem is that it was a miss for me. The reason it was a miss is because I just wanted to win. I didn't necessarily care about how I was winning. And I don't really like games like that. I have a philosophy that I play with some people that they care more about coming out first than winning the game. And that doesn't sound right until you think about it. Some people just care, but I don't care how. I've got a particular friend. He'll play the same exact strategy over and over and just beat you over and over. He doesn't care about winning so much. He just wants to be first. He wants to make sure he's in first place. Whereas if I played Castles of Burgundy 30 times, I'm going to explore other strategies and see if I can win. If somebody tells me in Castle of Burgundy, oh, the sheep or the animals are the strongest part of the game, you can't win without doing the farms. I'm going to try to win without him, you know? And with Hocus Pocus, with this one, it was just really beating us over the head. And I really just wanted to win the game so that I could say I completed it. You know, I didn't necessarily enjoy my plays. That being said, the more I played it, I will be honest, the more I played it, the more I liked it.
Okay.
So yeah, I got to the first two plays going, I can't see myself playing this enough to review it. And then I got to the end after we won and played it a couple of times going, I'm actually kind of enjoying this. So
yeah.
I don't know.
This one was kind of tricky when I taught my family. So I have played the full, I don't remember, it's 5-6 players. I've got it sitting here somewhere. What the full count of that is.
2 to 6 players.
Yeah, 6 players. So we've played the full 6 players, which I definitely recommend this one at that higher player count than the 2-player, because when you ask for the information, that becomes more interesting than just one other player that you're asking information for. But they found it difficult for a while to figure out how to play the cards until finally it hit me. This game is kind of Uno. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because actually I like this game, but to teach this game, when you place a card, it either has to match the color or it has to match the symbol on whatever you're placing it on, which is just like Uno. You're matching the number or you're matching the color, but for some reason, it was really difficult for somebody to grasp. So what card can I play in this spot? Until I started saying, oh, if you played Uno, you know how to play that. But now that I don't want to say that, because you hear Uno and you're already going to think, oh, I might play Uno, but it's not. It's
not Uno.
It's a cooperative game, but just the way you play your cards is like Uno.
Yeah, it has the card matching part. I will say this. I liked the way they presented the game. This is definitely the characters from the movie, which was one of my wife's favorite movies. We have to watch it, 40 times during the month of October. Yes. It plays constantly. But the artwork actually is such a great homage to the movie.
Yes.
The Binks character, I mean, look at it. It's so photogenic just staring at you. I mean, it's really one of the coolest meeples I've ever owned. I just wish I liked the game a little bit more. It is the kind of game, though, as you said, if I'm going to introduce to a family, people that don't play any games at all, I can teach them that Uno mechanic that you talked about, show them what a cooperative game is like. If all they're used to is playing Uno and hitting them with draw fours, just being mean to each other.
Yeah.
Show them that this is more of a cooperative game. Or if they like Disney movies at all, they're going to like Hocus Pocus. So I like the theme. I love the artwork. I love the special powers. Just as a whole, there are cooperative games I'd rather play than Hocus Pocus. So
totally, yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's a miss for me.
I think with the theme, because I've got some, family members that really love Hocus Pocus, and you've got the fluff text on the card that matches up with the movies, and I think that's cool. All the integration of all the components with the gameplay and all that, I think they accomplished what they were setting out to do, and I think people who like Hocus Pocus that might not be into heavier hobby board games, but want to maybe be introduced to some, this is a really great entry point to that, I think.
It's well designed.
Yes.
So that's not a knock on it. It's well designed. You're right. The flavor text is awesome. It actually, and I don't have copies of them here, but the spell cards is really where it comes out. And each one of them you're going to recognize from the movie. So
yeah,
I will say this. I was the one that it said it was a miss, but the two people that I played it with for the most part, like my wife and her friend, they loved it. They just loved this game. My wife wanted to play this every night. She wanted to beat this game. So I'll tell you, I just wish we were better at this.
She really enjoyed this one quite a bit.
That's Hocus Pocus. Meh for me, but it sounds like Dean says one of his favorite games of all time. Not
Something
quite.
like that was a paraphrase, I think.
I was definitely stretching the paraphrase there. Last game we're going to talk about tonight, a game you and I have not talked, actually haven't played, so we're just going to throw it out there for people. Sure, there's more games in there. There's Hollywood Tower Hotel Jenga. There's Disney Sketch Tales, which I saw at Target the other day, and there's Munchkin and Monopoly. There's always Munchkin and Monopoly if you want to buy those. But this is something a little bit different. Dean, what caught my eye about this is there are 6 or 7 different ones with Mickey, Toy Story, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and of course, you got to have the villains. It looks like a little quick playing 10 or 15 minute card game where you're playing against other people. Reminded you a little bit of Silver in describing the mechanics, right?
In the sense that you can kind of mix and match what mix and match the different sets together, and you have these different abilities that come out with the different sets that you have. That's what kind of has that silver coin, silver dagger feel to it. But the game itself, I mean, you're essentially, it looks like you're drawing a card, you're putting it into play, and you have these sets and runs that you're working on. But beyond that, like you said, each one of the sets has a character that allows you to have these different powers that plays out. I think this one sounds really cool for, kind of again, like a big box store type of game that might be a little more complex than something you're used to playing, like Uno or something like that. Not a whole lot. I don't think this one adds a whole lot of weight to it at all, but it seems, I'm interested in these. I really want to check these out.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head. This is, I mean, you're looking at it's 6+, and I know that has to do with the toy factor, but it also has to do with the complexity. 2 to 4 players, says it plays in 10 to 15 minutes, and it's collectible. I mean, that's really the point of this thing. It's Funko doing the little, Prospero Hall putting their great game design on some beautiful little Funko Pops. So when mom and dad go into the store, instead of buying yet another copy of Funko, get him something wild instead. I'll tell you, Dean, I'm willing to try this. I really am. I'm willing to try it.
Yeah, it's kind of that same idea of the Funkoverse games. It's got that toy factor to it. But obviously this is much lighter, and I think you're exactly right, BJ. Getting that toy factor with it, but also, hey, let's play this game. Might trick your kid into playing games with you.
Exactly, and that's what the villains are all about, tricking the kids. So that's our 6 games. That's the 6 games that we're looking at 2020. For those Disney fans, it was a good year for Disney games. I haven't heard a lot about what's coming out next year. In fact, Funko's been very quiet about what's coming out with Villainous. Have you heard anything yet with the new sets?
No, I was looking. I wondered, they've got the Marvel Villainous, which we didn't mention at all, which I guess is in the Disney World as well. Not a big fan.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. Okay. I love Marvel, but I've got a lot of Marvel games, so I don't really need that one. I'm not interested in that one, but I'm just wondering now if they're going to kind of pour heavily into that, or if they're going to maybe hit up some of these Pixar, or venture into these other worlds of Disney, maybe Star Wars, who knows? I don't know what direction they're going to go, but there's a lot of opportunities for them to go with, I think.
You know what we should do? We should do this another time and talk about what attractions we think they should come out for board games, right? I love the idea of board. Look, I go to the parks all the time, and I'm walking through the store, and I see all these, Disney games, and they have the park attractions, but it's Monopoly, and it's, Jenga, and it's all this stuff, and I don't want those games.
Yeah.
So the idea that you and I could talk about some of our favorite attractions being turned into games, that would be a fun video.
I think I could come up with a list of that. I would love to do that.
I bet you could, Dean.
I'm going to have to have a part 2 here.
We will. We're going to have a part 2. I want to do that. So, all right. Hey, board gamers and Disney fans. BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, wrapping it up. Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, and our YouTube channel. It helps us to get the word out about all of our upcoming shows. Season 8 is going to be starting. We're taking a break this week to hang out with Dean, but Season 8 will be starting. Dean, if people want to get in touch with you and talk Disney or board gaming, how do they get in touch with you and John?
Yeah, so you can just go to our website. It's meepletowngames.com. You can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at meepletowngames. Or if you are on Board Game Geek and you're into the guilds, you can check us out on our guild 3407. I think that's it.
I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo.
And I'm Dean from Meeple Town.
And until next time, Dean, laissez le bon temps rouler.
Thanks for coming down to Meeple Town.
You can find us on Twitter, on YouTube, or on Facebook, or on Instagram at Board Game Gumbo. I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Dean. And until next, I'm BJ from Board Game Gumbo.
I'm Dean from Meeple Town. This is the script, BJ. Stick to the script.
We're going to try that again. I'm going to have to finally do some editing.